recording cloud. Okay. And let's go ahead and see if I can share the right screen. Desktop 1, I think that's it. Holy cow, that is ridiculous. Anyway, can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Great. Now let me also, before I forget, make the chat visible so when people ask questions, I can answer them and see them pop up, because that's one thing I'll say with this, it's not as noticeable. So we have people from Mexico and Canton, Ohio, and you're in Denmark. I'm in Dallas. If anyone else wants to say where they are, I'd be curious. I keep hearing a lot of ding-dongs, so it looks like a lot more people are showing up. I guess we should go ahead and get started.
Yeah, it's about time at least.
Okay.
It's 16 now. Do you want to give the last few one a moment or two, or do you just want to get started?
Well, why don't we go over a little bit of just the introduction, right, of who we are.
Yeah, fair enough.
Type stuff, so we're not. So if people miss it, it's not really that interesting. So I'll start up. So I'm Joe Glines, and Jackie and I started talking, I guess it's like 2 years ago now, 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah, and we both just loved AutoHotkey, loved being efficient and finding ways to save time. And at some point we decided to put together a little survey, and we fielded that. It's been, what, 6 months ago now, roughly?
Yeah,
that had some great, interesting results, and I'll put a link. We'll send a link out to the report if you haven't seen it, because it was interesting to learn about how other people use AutoHotkey, how long they've been using it, what they use it for, and this and that. And I have a site where I basically, I'm not a great coder, right? I do have a lot of ideas, and it saves a lot of time at work, but I'm definitely not as nearly as good as Jackie or Chad that's going to talk about AHK Studio. But it is just amazing how much time you can save, and so I love learning more, and so we just decided to try to have regular webinars where we talk a little bit about what we know and hear what you guys are working on, and learn from each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm Jackie Stuk, as most people are, from Denmark, and yeah, I learned about AutoHotkey, what's it, 4 years ago or something. And been learning more and more as I went by, and now I feel I'm pretty proficient with it, at least, and I'm using it in my current job and stuff, which is great. Helped me procure that position, so that was good. And yeah, what's it, 2 years ago, just about when I started talking to Joe, I started making a website with content about AutoHotkey. Maybe it was because I had too much time, I don't know. Yeah, something like that. I was just trolling the forums and stuff, trying to help people. And yeah, at one time I simply decided to make my own website. So I've had fun with that, get a few messages from people there as well as people on the forums, so I'm happy. I can code in AutoHotkey just as much as I want, and that's great, helping people all day long, so I'm happy.
And Chad, well, you here in a second. He's going to talk about AHK Studio, which is an IDE/editor for AutoHotkey. I've started playing with it, and it has some great functionality that's built into it that really helps you focus on actually coding instead of writing it correctly and things. But let's go on to the next slide here real quickly. And this is basically, Jackie, we're not trying to make money off this, but we started off muted because we were concerned, and I see now it looks like we have roughly 18 people, and we were worried if everybody tried to talk at one time, it would be chaos. And so that's also why, instead of just doing a hangout, we went this route with Zoom, and we've muted everybody at the beginning. If you have questions, somewhere up on top, I think somewhere you can raise your hand, and I'll see that, and I can unmute you. Or if you just want to put it in chat, I'll read it out loud so everybody can hear it, and we'll think about it.
Yeah.
And the quick overview for today, it's definitely going to be much more informal. Jackie and I are both returning from Christmas. Yeah, great. Summer breaks, and so we've done a little bit of stuff, but this is going to be a review of Studio, an example showing this clipping program that I use a lot, a quick example maybe with string split, and then some Q&A. So that's the plan.
Yeah, it sounds good.
That was my entire slideshow.
Yeah, and that was well enough. It got us started, so to say.
So I'm going to unmute Chad here. Hold on, where is he? Here we go. Chad, you there?
I'm here. Hello.
Hey, can you all hear? I mean, for me, his volume is lower than mine. Can you guys hear him? Okay.
I can hear him, but yeah, the volume is also a little lower.
Okay.
And people in the chat are saying they can hear him as well.
How's that? Any better?
That is better. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just for some reason it's auto leveling my microphone and just keeps dropping and dropping further and further. So I do apologize if I do tend to drop out, but unfortunately I'm at the whim of the computer.
Cool. All right. You ready to take it away?
Sure.
You can. Oh, let's see. I got to pass it over to you, don't I?
Right.
You share. Oh, wait. No, not that. Manage participants.
I think if you just stop sharing your screen, I'll be able to take it over.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm like, stop video. New share. Is it? Oh, that's it. You should be able to take it now.
Clicking, and it's saying that I cannot start screen share while other participant is sharing screen.
But I'm not sharing my. You don't see my screen, right? You see me.
No. Actually, I don't see you either. I just.
Oh, okay. Well, let me. You know what? Let me see if I can make host. No.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone.
Yeah. Let's see if that allows you to.
There we go. Amazing. Okay. So, AutoHotkey Studio, been working on it off and on since about 2005, just because I got tired of using Notepad and it just didn't kind of work for my workflow, and so I decided to start writing my own IDE. Anyway, if you go to maestris.com, there's a link right here that says right-click this and choose Save Link As, and it'll just basically download it to your system, or you can bring up the text, select all, then I suggest giving it its own folder, and then so let's go ahead and AHK Studio.
So just to be clear, he's actually live downloading and demonstrating exactly how it gets installed.
Right. So once you've downloaded or just basically copied the file or downloaded it, you just double click it to run, and as long as you're not behind any kind of firewalls, it'll automatically download a few files to your system, because there are some control files that are required. But once everything gets downloaded, it takes you right into AutoHotkey Studio, and this is pretty much it. Now, on the surface, it's not very impressive, but there are a lot of little things that'll help you code, and hopefully I'll be able to show you some of those. So,
can you make it a little bigger?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Sorry, I mean, for me it's hard to read.
Yeah, let me go ahead and bump up the font size, make it a little bit easier for everybody else to read. How's that? Better?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So, download and install. All right. So, it should open up with a new untitled document with the base file that's created every time that you would normally open up or create a new AutoHotkey file. But within Studio, you can do new file template, and it comes up with the current file template, then you can change it to single instance force, and then just save that. And then so if I want to start a new file, it'll come up, then just show what I changed it to. And, you know, don't have to actually go and edit that file that's in the root AutoHotkey folder and everything else. It's just, this will come up every time you start a new project. So the way that AutoHotkey Studio keeps track of everything is within projects. And it's basically an AutoHotkey script, but what's fun is, let's go ahead and save this as, we'll go into testing my project. And so now we've got my project, and I'm going to close that file. So projects will show up here, and they will also show includes. Like, let me show you what a file that has multiple includes looks like when you open it up in the AutoHotkey Studio. So I just opened up AutoHotkey Studio, which is the program that I'm using now, and you'll notice that there are quite the list of included files, around about 200, 250 included files. And the beauty of what AutoHotkey Studio will do is it will also open up all of the included files underneath the main script, and then you can easily come over here. This is what I call the Project Explorer, and go to any file that you want to go to quickly and easily. Then you've also got the Code Explorer, which is this window down here, and it basically keeps track of all of the classes that are within the main project, functions, instances, and labels, and bookmarks, and also breakpoints if you want to set breakpoints for using debugging, but you know, that's a little more advanced. I think we have time to get into. So, but you can see that all the classes are also broken down into all of the methods under those classes. So if I click on debug, it'll take me to the class debug, which is in the file class debug. I'm not very inventive when it comes to file names and everything else, but it'll show you, okay, if you click on that, it shows you the root of the class. Say I want to go down to the sock method, I click it, it takes me right to the socket method, so that I don't have to scroll up and scroll down and I go, oh, did I put it in alphabetical order or anything else? You can just quickly and easily jump to whatever method or class you want to get to using the Code Explorer here. And that also works with functions. So say I want to go to the activate function, right there it is. And it's easy to get the things, instances, and as well, and also labels. So, you know, probably have at least 50, 60, maybe even 100 labels. I honestly don't know. I ran out, I just stopped caring. Just keep adding them. But it makes it easy to find anything that you're looking for. And so that is the Code Explorer, which Project and Code Explorer. Yay, I hit those. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about splitting the control. AutoHotkey Studio is extremely dynamic in the fact that you can say you don't want to have the Code Explorer or the Project Explorer. So you could remove those at will and, you know, bring them back, or say you would like to have the Project Explorer down at the bottom, so we can go below Project Explorer. Now we can put it there, and then we'll split this control to the right, and we'll put the Code Explorer there. So you can have things down below, up above. So let's say we want to split this control above, and we'll put another scintilla control there because we're going to change this to a toolbar. So let's go ahead and throw a new toolbar in there. And then you can go in and edit the toolbar. This will bring up a list of all of the options that AutoHotkey Studio has available to you, so that if you wanted to say, you know, add, I don't know, open to the list, you can just hit open, or save, and then you can give, you should be able to give, I apologize, it's going to make a liar out of me. I do apologize. Not everything's going to work perfect, but, so anyway, so you can make it however you want, and with that, as little distractions or as many distractions as you'd like. So I personally like to just remove everything and have more room for just basically coding and programming, because one of the things that I do love is the OmniSearch. OmniSearch is basically a little window that's going to pop up, and it's going to give you a list of all of the prefixes that you can use in order to find, say, functions or classes or whatever. So say I want to look for a function, so I use open parentheses, and then I'm going to say ABO, and it's going to say about, because that's the one I wanted. You hit enter, and it takes you to it the same way that the Code Explorer had done. So you don't necessarily need the Code Explorer, but if you like a graphical representation of how your code is laid out or how to quickly get to certain places, that's fine. But using the OmniSearch, you can quickly jump to anything or anywhere in your script.
But also, I mean, point out that it's a fuzzy matching one, right?
Right.
Awesome.
So say I want to jump to, let's go somewhere else. Okay, we're in the main thing. So let's go back to about. So if I jump to TABOU, it will realize that, yeah, that's probably going to be about, but we're going to suggest other things that actually have those letters in them, but it will kind of rank it in. Well, let me see if I actually have. Oh, I don't remember. I'll have to think about it, but sorry, I do get a little confused at times. But anyway, it'll also say you want to use a menu item. If you put the @ symbol in there, it'll bring up all of the menu items that AutoHotkey Studio has as well, so that you don't have to say, okay, I want to go to tools and debug and debug current script. I could go there, or I could say Alt-M DCS, and it'll come up debug current script. It will give abbreviations precedent, so that if you know exactly what you're looking for, it will find them. Like, say I want to check for update, so check for update. CFU will bring up check for update. You hit enter, and it will automatically go out to the internet and check for updates. And there's no new updates because I haven't pushed any updates since this build. So let's see, what other fun stuff. Okay, IntelliSense. AutoHotkey Studio has most. I try to keep all, but I'm sure there are a few that slip through the cracks. Of the files or the commands and everything else that AutoHotkey has, like str, sp, stir split. Oh boy, I really don't like the fact that those are teeny tiny. Split path. Okay. So now when you hit comma, you're going to notice that the first thing that's going to be highlighted in blue is the input variable. So let's go ahead and say var : equals a scripter. Okay. Or actually, a script full path. That's better. Okay, so now we come in here and say var, comma, and you'll notice every comma denotes that it's going to jump to the next field. So say I want to just get the output or the drive. So all I have to do is keep hitting comma until I get to the out drive, and then say drive, and then message box, drive, and run it, and it's on my D drive.
That was a great example, because between that and message box are the two that I always can't keep track of how many commas I have in there.
Right.
So the fact that you can actually see where you are, right, it's showing you in those options and what parameter you're passing as you're typing it is really nice.
And it also works with the built-in functions as well. It's like regexmatch, you've got your haystack, needle output var string position or starting position, I apologize. But then if you hit another comma, it's like, hey, you went too far. There are no more inputs that are required, and you're going to get an error if you try to run it. See that blank, well, that blank parameters, I guess that makes sense. So let's say var, comma, let's look for D colon, I guess you'd make a D, and then everything else. So then we can output it, found, and we can come down here and say found one, and hopefully, of course, in the glare. Is that the part? You don't know. Oh, you dumb. Got to put parentheses, or there we go. Got to put your parentheses around it. So let's say dot here, and it's still going to find D because dot means anything. I don't want to make this into a reggae too much, some discussion, but basically it's going to show you where you are within that function call so that you can see what you should be putting into it. This also works with your own personal functions. So let's say we come over here and hit M, and you'll notice that the X star comes up and lets you know that, hey, this is what this function requires. And it's a function that I personally made myself, so I guess I could technically come in here and go A, B, C, D, E, and then put a star at the end of that. And then I could come up here and say A, comma, B, comma, C, comma, D, E. Then since it's a variadic, it'll know that it needs to stay on that particular input and allow it to just keep coming through. So
that's awesome.
And actually pass something to it. And then we'll go ahead and delete that. And then we'll go for A, comma, B, or yeah, let's change this to X. Don't want to reuse variables here. In X, then MSG top equals B, and then message box MSG. And what's going to happen is we're going to go ahead and comment these out, and we're going to show that we've got the variable. So let's go ahead and pass it some more fun things like hello and there, and you'll notice that it puts an enter in every time. I use this function a lot for just quickly outputting things into a message box. Makes life easier.
The other thing, Chad, I noticed when you were typing, which is one that I really like, and I wish I had built it in to my Adaptionist site, is that it's monitoring the words that are already in your code.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And offering them to you.
But yeah, so say you want to start like this underscore is my long variable colon equals pi. So now later on in the code, if you want to make a call back to that, you start typing the word. It's like, oh, hey,
yeah, that was awesome.
You just hit enter, and it will automatically complete that for you.
That is a lifesaver.
It helps a lot. It's just.
Does it go into included scripts and fetch stuff that's in there as well, or just in this?
Just your current document. You can't, or I guess I could throw that in there. It's just I'd have to put extra few things in there. But what I do have is the ability to add a personal variable list, or PVL. You come in here and you can. One of my favorite things to do is SYS-LIST-VIEW32 and SYS-TREEVIEW32. So something there is syslistView 321 or
nice.
systree-view 32, then you can go 1 or 2 or 13 or whatever you like. But no matter where you are within any one of the includes or any one of your projects, that personal variable list will always show whatever it is you typed in there. So if you have like variables or certain things that you like to use on a regular basis, you can just pop it in there and it will just automatically show those to you, along with all of the other autocomplete options that it will show. Pardon me. Okay. Now, another little bit of functionality that I like is, okay, so we've got this all in the same file. Let me go ahead and split this back out to show the Project Explorer. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually get to where we can see some things. My apologies. Okay, so we're in my project. So say it's like, okay, I've got this function, it works very well, and I don't really need it in my face or in the main part of the script. So what you can do is you can select it, and you can go to File, and then go to, oh, so much easier for me to just type it. Okay, so Alt-M, selected, new, include. Create include from selected from selection. I don't even know half of my own things, but anyway, it's going to pop up with a little confirm new file, and it's going to suggest M because that's the actual first word of the selected text. So yes, I'd like it to be m.ahk. So it'll put it in its own file and automatically add it to the project as an include underneath that file. So when you go back to the main script, it'll show include M, and when you run it, it will still run just the same, so that you don't have to worry about having it all in one place and driving you nuts. Like, okay, I put this, on line 7,000. Well, that's a thing, in my opinion, a thing of the past, because you can go ahead and say, just split all of your functions or labels or whatever you like into their own file, and it will run just the same. So say you want to see that particular function that you created. Well, there's a few ways to get to it. You can Alt-J and then type M, and it's going to be right there. So you can do that. Or you can come up here and say, oh, I want to go here, so you can actually click it. Or you can have your caret right in that area and hit Alt F1. And what that's going to do is it's going to jump to the first available thing that it has tagged and saying that, okay, M is a function. So since I'm at the letter or the word or the letter M, and that's something that I have split out, it'll jump to that. So let's go ahead and File I, and then my new function. So we're going to create a new file called my new function. It's going to ask, do you want to create a function called my new function as well? Yeah, sure. Make it easy on me. So let's say we're going to want A, B, C, and D. Then we're going to message box A, B, C, and D. Whoops. Okay. So now you'll notice my new function is here. So now I've got my new function and M. Those are my two functions that I have. If I hit Alt-I, and I'm not sure why it's doubling that, but I'll take a look at that later. But what Alt-I does, or display functions, if you notice up here it says display functions, it'll bring up a list of the functions, so then you can just hit Enter, and then it'll automatically add that. Then we can go A, B, C, and D. And even though it's in a different include file, it'll still bring up the IntelliSense for it, so that you know what you're actually putting into it. Also, you can type MY and then hit Alt-I, and it'll just bring up those my new functions, or you can just MY, and it's going to automatically suggest it because all of the functions and classes and everything else automatically get added to the auto completion. So if you just hit Enter and it knows it's a function, it'll put the open and close parentheses for you and then show you what's required. So I can say hello, and then we're going to say 1, 2, and 3. And then if we put another comma, it's like, hey, you ran out. So now we've got hello, 1, 2, 3. So now it's going to say hello, 1, 2, 3. So it doesn't require you to have your entire program within one file. Easily split things up, and anytime you want to make a call to something, it will automatically just show you everything that's required for that function. Display positions in functions, calls, and commands, which is basically something I already went over. sensing words and documents, which Joe had pointed out. And yes, it's, as long as it's within the same file, it will go ahead and automatically put that into the auto completion for you. Auto matching parentheses and other things. So in AutoHotkey Studio, you can, all right, let's go ahead and make a new function. We'll call this function because, like I said, I'm real original. So you hit open parentheses, and it's going to automatically put the close parentheses on there. You come to the end, and then you hit an open brace or curly brace or however you like to call it, and it's going to put that curly brace on the end. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Now you can see that I'm in between those. Now, if you just hit enter here, what it's going to do is it's going to take that curly brace, the close brace, put it 2 lines down, and then put your cursor in the middle and get you ready to actually type. And so you don't have to actually, hit enter twice and then hit the tab to bring it in, all that other happy stuff. It does that for you automatically. Now, that saves keystrokes and all sorts of fun stuff. Another thing that you can do is say you're going to, for AV in 1, 2, 3, 4, then you're going to say message box B, and that's going to say, message box 1, 2, 3, and 4. But say you want to go ahead and expand on that. So normally you would have to come up here and put in an open parenthesis or an open brace, and then come down here and close the brace. But if you hit shift and enter, it's going to automatically incorporate that next line into this set of braces. And you'll notice that whenever you've got a matching brace, it'll turn it a different color. So say you would like to remove this brace and that brace, you can also hit Control, Shift, and Delete. And what it's going to do is it's going to delete both of those matching braces, and then it's going to select everything that was in between there so that you can do other things, like say you want to change this from an array to an object. You just Control, Shift, Delete, put in a curly brace, then you can say 1 is 4, 2 is 5, 3 is 5 as well, apparently, and 4 is 1. So now going from one type of array to say an object, an associative array, you don't have to, okay, I got to come in here, I got to delete this side here, I got to delete this side here, and then I'm going to have to put in the square brackets. So let's say you want to just change that or put square brackets around that. You just select the text you want to put brackets around, and then you hit the open bracket, and it will automatically put the close bracket on the end. It works the same way with some text. So say you want to put quotes around that, you just select the whole thing and you put in the quotes, and it'll automatically wrap it in quotes, or apostrophes, or anything you want. You can also, there's a function that I made because I keep forgetting things, like I'll be like, okay, so let's message box this. Oh, I want that to be in quotes. You hit Control. Oh, that's right, I don't have it. Wrap word in quotes. I don't have a hotkey for that, but that's okay. So it'll take the current word and wrap it in quotes so that I don't have to select it and go back and do that. So this is a message. So that's fun, stuff like that. So
the one thing I'll say, which I'm sure people kind of get this, is when you're not used to this functionality, you at first curse it, right? Because I kept trying to do it the way that I was used to, and it was double work. But once you adapt to it, you can see how Chad's cruising through stuff, right? It really speeds up your coding capabilities.
Oh yeah, it's. I tried to make Studio so that you don't have to think. You just put your ideas down, and it takes care of the rest of it for the most part. This also will work, just so you know, with like variables. So let's say we just hit %. Whatever you select it with, it'll put the % on both sides of it for you like that. So, but you can also, I keep forgetting what it was called, auto insert. That's what it is. So if you come into auto insert, it'll show you. So when I put in a quote, it'll put in a quote. Open parentheses, close parentheses. And you can remove those if you want. And if it's driving you nuts, you can just easily come in here, select one, and then hit remove selected. So now when you come in here and you can type quote, and it'll show just a single quote. But if you still do my text, and you hit quote, it'll still put it on both sides because you've got text selected. So you can make it work like a normal editor by removing that if it's something that frustrates you, but you still retain the ability to have the automatic adding of the matched item, so that you don't have to, But personally, I'd say leave it on, get used to it, because man, it's just so much easier because you don't have to think. You don't have to like, oh, did I close that parentheses, or did I close this, or did I close that? You don't have to think. It just does it for you.
We're running, getting close on time. The one thing I'd say is make sure you either demonstrate or just talk through is you showed how awesome it is to easily break out your functions.
Right.
But you show them how also you don't have to worry about that when you go to share it.
Right. Okay. So let's go ahead and get rid of all of this extra malarkey here. Okay. So I've got basically the start, everything else, and then I've got my 2 include files. So say you want to take and post this to the forum, and say I've got some issues with this, and I need to get some help with it. But you've got 2 different includes, and you're like, oh geez, so now I'm going to have to go in and do all that include stuff. Well, no, you don't. So if you go to publish and hit enter, oh, that's interesting. Coding error. Of course it's going to make a liar out of me. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so now it's going to say code is copied to your clipboard. So now in my clipboard is basically everything that's within the code, but all smushed into one file. So you don't have to go and get all of your includes and copy them and everything else. It's just a way to make it so that you don't have to post all your different includes. It'll just wrap them up into a nice little ball and just put them in your clipboard. And you can also go to export, and what it's going to do is it's going to do the same thing as my program. And then we go to the directory, we edit the script, and you're going to see that it takes and adds all of those includes into the main script, and then just exports one file for you to so you can share it with your friends or whatever. But yeah.
How about you show the paste bin example?
Oh, yeah, paste bin. Okay, so paste to p.ahkscript.org, hit enter. It's going to say it requires a plugin, so all you have to do is hit yes, and it's going to come up and it's going to have your username in it, and then you can just post the code. So you see down here it says the script has been posted. So what you do is now you go paste, because it puts the link into your clipboard, you paste it into your web browser, and it's on the web for you, and it also combines all your includes, so people don't have to go looking for all the includes that you have. So
yeah, and that I can't even begin to think of how many times just you and I, how you've used that of like, here, look at this and look at this, and it just
right.
makes it so convenient to share code.
Yeah, you don't have to go to the website, do this, do that, and everything else. And there's also the ability to create your own plugin. So if you want to create something that goes to your own paste bin, get in touch with me and I can show you how to do that. It also has like debugging built in if you want to debug something. And I do want to show something really quick. Like, let's say we create an error and while we're coding, and we're like, okay, let's try it out. So we run it, and it's going to come up and it's going to say, hey, there's an error here. And you don't actually have to use debugging to have it show the error. It'll automatically jump to the file that has the error in it and select the line that has the offending code. So you can say, oh, yeah, that's an error. Yep. And then just delete it and then run it. And then it'll go back and, oh, yeah, I guess I should hello. So, yeah, now it'll run once you got rid of the error. And it does have a more robust actual debugging suite within it that'll show like variable contents and all that other stuff. But I'm sure like we're running out of time here, so I apologize. But like I said, if you want to get a hold of me and would like a more in-depth demonstration, I'd be more than happy to screen share with Skype or Google Hangouts or whatever. And yeah. So,
We'll also include, we'll send out a follow-up email, and we'll give you Chad's email address and website where you can download this and whatnot. Make
right.
it, yeah, it's a pretty amazing tool.
Yeah, and like you said, that this is just a small example of over 200 different menu options and functions and everything else that'll help you to code and just put your mind out there and auto indent. I wanted to show this before we go. So hey, you want to move your code around and you don't want to have to think about the indentation. No matter what you do, AutoHotkey Studio, if you allow it, will keep track of all your indentations so you don't have to think. I guess there's a K at the end of the word think. Or
also,
both of those. You can move both of those wherever you like.
We got a question in the chat some time ago about how robust is AHK Studio?
Well, it's 300 and some odd K worth of crazy just amounts of code. If you want to know anything specific, I'd be more than happy to answer the question. But how in depth is it? It's pretty crazy. There's a lot of things that you can use, and it provides a lot of help to you so that you don't have to worry about things like, say, if I hit F1 here, it'll, as long as your cursor is within a line that has a command in it that AutoHotkey has, it'll open up the help file so that you can get more information. But this information here will be provided for you. But if you want to know, say, okay, what does outdir mean? You come in here and you can say, oh, it's the name of the variable, which will store the directory of the output file.
So I'll actually say, you know, I have been forever a big site user, and Chad and I basically we didn't state it, but I challenged him of like in Studio, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? And the only thing I will say that I couldn't do, and it really isn't that you couldn't, it's not designed for it, is that I work in SQL and, you know, sometimes Python and other languages, and that was the only thing of like, this is for AutoHotkey.
Yeah, it's not going to be very helpful for any other language, unfortunately. I just wanted to laser focus on AutoHotkey, and because that's the only language that I know. So I wanted this to be, I may at some point create like a Python studio or something like that, but I got to get this finished first. And it's, you know, it's always in a constant state of flux, as, you know, creating and adding new features and always taking suggestions. So if you have any suggestions, there's a GitHub for this, or GitHub repository, pardon me, for it. And I have, you know, like you can ask questions or report bugs or stuff like that. I always get emails from that, or you can send me an email saying, you know, hey, there's a function in another editor that I use that I really like. Does Studio do this? And if it doesn't, and it's not too crazy complicated, and I can implement it, then I'm more than happy to add features to it. So, but yeah, I'm really sorry I wasn't able to actually answer your specific question, but yes, it's quite robust. I'm not trying to toot my own horn.
So we just had another question, and I think I can answer it, but it says, you know, basically, how does a newbie really make use of this? And honestly, you know, the great thing is, if you're new to it, you know, the IntelliSense alone is very helpful. You don't have to use all the bells and whistles, right?
No,
maybe step into it, because I'm not a very good programmer, but knowing some of the stuff, it'll actually make me a better programmer, I think. But you don't have to be a great programmer to use it.
No, not at all. I designed it so that it's very new person friendly, but as it will scale with you as the more complex your coding becomes.
The one thing Jackie and I talked about before was like, we both use Cite a lot, and that's what we've been using for years. But it's really, hey, let's try to get people off a Notepad. right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that IntelliSense alone just really makes a huge difference.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I spent quite a lot of time to actually get it to work, and it helps me to code so much faster because I don't have to think, okay, was it 4 commas or 6?
Yeah.
It just tells you, so you don't have to think about it, and it also gives a graphical representation, so that you can say, oh, okay, so no, yeah, there I go.
that is really nice. All right, let's at least switch gears real quickly. Jackie, why don't you? I'll pass it over to you, and why don't you talk to whatever you want to talk to? Is it this string split?
No, yeah, I know we talked about it. I didn't really plan anything before we started out today, and we talked about maybe talking a little about string split or something like that. Now we had all of this nice information about AHK Studio. I'm not sure what we need to talk about more than that, or if you want to go to Q&A, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, actually, one thing I would love is everyone that's on the call in the chat box or in an email if you prefer doing it that way. I'm curious if you were to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, and let's maybe even do it twice, right? Once is how much do you consider yourself a programmer, right? A 10 is you use multiple languages and you've been programming for years, and a 1 is like, you're like, what are you even talking about? And then the second one would be, how about specifically with AutoHotkey? Are you an advanced user, or with AutoHotkey, even though you're a programmer, you're still could be new to AutoHotkey? So I'm curious what people's level of usage are, because we also, we want to be able to help people and understand. We didn't want to make this too new, low level, because we figured a lot of people would be pretty, intermediate level users. Cool. So we're getting lots of interesting feedback here. It looks like it's quite a variety. Awesome. So actually, while we're doing this, so I'll demonstrate just as an example here. Let me share my screen. Just on one share. Hopefully I'm getting this right. Is it all black right now?
It is black.
Yeah.
All right, let me bring over just so we can see some color here. Okay. So in my example, this is one script that like I said, I'm not a programmer. I don't even fake being a programmer. But I have borrowed from, like for this script, a lot where screen clipping, right? I'll be doing something, especially let's say if I'm on a website or I'm in a file, and I want to grab a little screen clipping, right? And this is with AutoHotkey using the GDIP library, I think.
Yeah.
I can grab something. I can grab, oops, if I hit the right hotkey, I can grab multiple, right? I can have multiple of them. And then all I have to do is click in the right corner, and that screen clip will disappear, right? Or let's say that I'm talking to Jackie, and I'm trying to explain something to him, and it's not making sense. So I can hit a different hotkey, and I hit it this way, and what's going to happen here in a second is it's going to pop open. Of course, it took it in my, here we go. It wrote my email and said all of this was done with AutoHotkey, where it writes the email. It actually uploaded it to Imager, but it also attached it, the screenshot that I took, as a file. So I can very quickly email it and then even put in the time period and stuff, right? So that was one. Oh, the other thing I did with it is, look, if I just paste here, that is the path to a local file of this. So if I was on like Facebook or somewhere and I wanted to quickly upload this file, the path, all I have to do is go to Facebook, say post picture, and post this path, and of course that jumps it right to that file and uploads it. But all of this is in AutoHotkey. It was, all I did was I borrowed everyone else. It was actually pretty funny. I was showing Chad in the script that I had tweaked from. And what was really funny was he's looking at it and he's like, "Oh, you borrowed my code." And thankfully, I had actually cited him in it. But I forget what function it was. Oh, it was the image, the WIA, right, Chad?
Yeah, yeah.
That was pretty funny. That I didn't know that was him at the time. But it's a really, really helpful script that I'll give a link to that. And there's one on the forum if you look around for it. But it's a super easy to use, helpful tool that I've run on a lot of different computers and haven't had any issues other than at first it wouldn't run on the 64-bit, and so now I've told it to when you have 64-bit AutoHotkey to make sure you launch it in 32-bit.
Yeah, I prefer to write most everything in 32-bit, and so if you get any of my code off the internet, 9 times out of 10 it's not going to work or play nice with 64. So I apologize for that, but I'm just an old school guy that loves his 32 bits.
That's fair enough. It truly is. So yeah, but yeah, I've loved the program, and you use it a lot when we do video chats and stuff, Joe. So,
yep.
And I especially like the easiness of simply comparing two things to each other.
Right, right. The other one I'll do, which it's funny, is you just don't realize it, is I'll go like this, and then I can scroll, right? And it's it's like freezing panes in Excel, right? It makes it really easy to then go across something, and it was until I started realizing it. It just, man, I use it 8 million times a day.
Yeah, and it seems to be a great tool.
Yeah, I probably should start using it as well. My Alt-Tab keys are starting to actually rub off of my keyboard because I use them so stinking much.
We're getting a question. What was the name of the screen capture?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I even named it. Let me. If I go to my site and I type in screen clipping, I don't know if I had a name for it. Wow, blinding fast. There it goes.
Yeah.
So I'll put a link to it in the email we send out. But if you go to the Automator and then put in screen clipping, you'll find it. It's this one. What you'll
you have it on the forum?
It is on the forum as well. Yeah. And I think I actually had posted an original thread off of it.
Go straight to the Automator because you have a video that shows how to use it and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just to know that it was in multiple places.
Yeah, and here is the actually, the actual script. So this is so funny because this is one script I got so many requests for, right, to use. So I didn't like, and actually I'm surprised to see it here, was to give people the GDIP library. I went through and painstakingly pieced out function by function what I actually needed to get the stupid thing to run, right? And in hindsight now, if I had had AHK Studio, that would have been a lifesaver, right, of getting it to just not have to worry about dumping it in there and knowing what it needs.
Absolutely, it's nice. I've used other scripts that goes in and fetches includes or other stuff like that, or I can't remember what it was, steal function or something. One of them was, I think, where it would go in and fetch whatever you had in the script. So I'm glad to see that it's been added into AHK Studio, because it's a nice functionality, and when you don't really need it, you don't think about it, and instead of then having to actually look for it when you need it, it's great to have it built in.
So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big site user, and I have apparently 15 videos specifically around sites, and yet I'm still like, I am totally on board with using Studio. It's just a matter of still adapting and getting used to it. Because it's really powerful. It's a different way of thinking because it does so much more for you, and I'm just not used to it.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that has any actual coding questions on something they're trying to work on that we can help with, that they want to either literally ask and I can unmute, or anyone have an idea how to make AutoHotkey aware of the power button has been pressed on a Winbook tablet? The power button being pressed. I know I had one for if something got unplugged. If your laptop it switched to battery power. Jackie or Chad, do you guys?
Not the actual power button. I wouldn't really know that. But what is aware that the power button has been pressed? Is it then when the item is on, or is it when the item is off? Then he wants to act on it being pressed while it's on to do something before it turns off, or what?
Yeah, and if that's the case, that's a good point, because I know there is a way to intercept that shutdown, right?
I believe there is, yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know the DLL call or anything like that would actually, or the message, the on-message that would grab it. Let's take a look.
Oh, looks like somebody on message query to end session. Huh.
Yeah. It's great having people who...
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. 0x11 is the message number, and I'll have to try that out.
So, and I don't remember, what are those, Windows commands? Is that what those are called?
Just window messages.
Messages. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing for people who are new to AutoHotkey in programming. I mean, AutoHotkey does it. To me, it's one of the best things is the value of how it hooks into Windows and can basically really drive like intricacies of Windows, and these what were they, Windows commands, messages. There's so many options, right, of what you can do besides doing the DLL calls as well.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah, a lot of AutoHotkey. I mean, it's so much more than just hotkeys. I mean, obviously, I wrote Studio in AHK, so, I mean, you can get complex as you want with it, or create your own GUIs or whatever.
Yeah, let me share a couple. So I have my main script, AutoHotkey script. I don't know how many hotkeys it has. It has a lot, but in it, I use these a lot. So I have it where that'll suspend my script, but more importantly, this Control-Alt-S. So I think of it as like the Control-Alt-Delete, right? But Control-S sends the computer into suspend mode, and Control-Alt-H will send it into hibernate mode. So especially on my laptop, when I'm at work, I don't have to I don't have to go find it and hit this and go hibernate. I just hit Control-Alt-H, and it dumps it incredibly quickly into hibernate mode.
Yeah, again, you're much better at actually using hotkeys and hot strings than me, as an example. I'll probably write a new script for it each time I need it, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, so this is my main script, right? And then I have a bunch of others, but yeah, the hotkeys alone, and then hot strings. Yeah, I love it.
Hot strings are even worse.
Yeah.
But it's great because you have a system, so you actually can use that many hot strings.
Right. So and I know we're coming up on 4 o'clock. I'm still fine hanging out and chatting and fielding any questions. Just so you guys know, that was the bulk of the quote unquote things that we had planned. So I'd still say if people want to hang out, raise your hands, ask questions. That's what we're here for, is to help each other, right? So I'm going to actually stop the recording for now, though, and then I think I'll start it up so it's a separate session. So if anybody comes back, they can watch this first hour, and then if there's us rambling and someone really feels the need to watch it, they can watch that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was great seeing.
We had
those 20
over
plus
20.
people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It totally was. So, and it seems everybody likes AutoHotkey, and we had a good amount of. I think we had a lot of 8s in how good people were with AutoHotkey. So
yeah, and some real coders too. I mean,
yeah,
some programmers, which is awesome.
It totally is.